It's green for go. They're racing.
He says go.
He says ta-da.
And Tiger Tara roars away from them on the home turn.
Here comes another big boil over.
Equine athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more.
This is in one race. The rest are almost in another postcode.
She is a star with a capital S.
It's going to be a triple treat, a miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that?
It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Hello and welcome to another Sunday session, the final one of the year. My name is Greg Hayes and this is a chance to get updated with what is making news in harness racing in the state of New South Wales. If this is your first time listening, we normally concentrate on the Menangle Saturday night meeting, but with the 2-week break at Menangle, it's given me a chance to look at some of the other feature meetings across the state. Next Saturday, we will be back to the normal setup, but more on that later. Of course, this podcast appears on the Sprint Late podcast, and a big thank you to everyone that has tuned in this year. We kicked it off around the time of the Eureka, as I was given the opportunity to dip my toe back into the water in the harness racing media, and I've really enjoyed being back talking to the trainers and drivers and celebrating the victories, especially the first-time successes. Looking forward to bringing you the podcast again in 2024, so make sure you stay tuned again next week. What's on the podcast this week? Well, first up, we're going to catch up with a young driver by the name of Harry Ross. Harry has been around the horses for a few years now. He's spent some time working in Tasmania as well with Ben Yole, but he is really starting to kick some goals, and he had the biggest night in the sulky in his career when he drove 4 winners at the Bathurst program on Boxing Night. Nice young bloke who I haven't had the chance to speak with before, so I'm looking forward to catching up with him to talk about the 4 winners and also his career and where he wants to go. Thought it would be timely to catch up with Blake Jones as well. Blake has a great record in the Breeders' Plate at Leeton. He won the race for the 3rd time in 10 years on Tuesday night when he drove Mr Bondi to victory. The horse is raced by Mick Boots, who has been having a great run with all of the different horses he has across the state. Blake's going to join me to have a chat about the win, the plans for the horse, and it might be a good time to have a chat to Blake about the setup he and his wife Ellen have at Narrandera. I know they're very close to the Gallops track down there, but I'll take the opportunity to speak with him about that and what they have on the property. With no Menangle racing this weekend, there's no Menangle Express where I look at every race and say what I see. Now, last week I looked at the heats of the Inner City Pace, and this week I thought what I'd do is have a look at a couple of the feature races around New South Wales and see if we can find a few horses to follow. So I'm going to review the Shirley Turnbull Memorial. I'll have a look at last night's Inner City Pace. That was won by Hands On. I spoke to Robbie Morris on the show last week after the heats and the 3 heat winners. They looked the main 3. They ended up running 1, 2, 3 in the final, but more on that later. Plus, I'll have a quick look at the Breeders' Plate as well. I'll have a look at round 5 of Fantasy Harness Racing. I made the decision to trade Will Rickson out this week, with Will not doing a lot of driving, but with Cam Hart having a quiet week, he may have been the one to trade out. He dropped $200,000 in value for round 6. Now, important to note, the meetings at Parks and Albury today or tonight, New Year's Eve, are not included, and Fantasy will start again tomorrow on New Year's Day. My good mate Mr T will be back as we continue our tipping challenge. No success for Mr T last week, but the good news was that I managed to find a winner at Dubbo last week, so something small back for the followers, and we will both find another couple of tips for the week of racing in front of us. So a lot to get through this week. Hope you enjoy the show.
Yumchar produces 4 wide, and Takeout will go back to the inside as they flatten. 175 to go. The leader still Shannon's Ideal. Yumchar, Gabby Sportstar. Now Takeout gets out. It's Yumchar and Gabby Sportstar flattening though, and Yumchar right down the outside. Harrison Ross with 4. What a night to remember. Beats Takeout and Gabby Sportstar.
It was a pretty special night for young Harry Ross on Boxing Night at Bathurst when he picked up 4 winners on the program, and he's joining me to have a chat about the night. Hello, Harry. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for that, Hazy. How are you, mate?
Mate, really well. Well, does a night at the races get any better than it was for you on Boxing Night?
Oh, no, you're probably not wrong. It was a pretty big thrill to be able to get Paul there the other night.
Let's run through them. The first of them, race 1, you drove My Crackling Rosie, charged out from a wide gate, burnt through the first quarter in 26.9, but she was able to fight on pretty strongly.
Yeah, no, Scotty's always had a pretty high opinion of her, and this prep just went to another level, and her gate speed's crazy. Like, she just crosses them for fun every race, and I knew if we could get to the peg, she'd be pretty hard to beat. She tries a little hard out, and
What were you thinking? What were you thinking halfway around when you knew that you'd used a fair bit of petrol in the early stages?
Yeah, I seen we sort of went 26.9. I wasn't really sure how much we had left, and I seen Luke's horse sort of come up beside me, and I wasn't really sure how much I had left in the locker, but to her credit, she didn't want to give it away. She kept fighting all the way to the line and was just able to nose Luke out.
Race 2, you drove Dance Edition for Neil Day, and once again, pretty similar start to the race. You charged off the wide gate.
Yeah, she's the same horse. If she finds the front, she's basically unbeatable. Like, look at her form. Like, every time she finds the front, they can't get near her, but she's just probably not the quickest out. But yeah, last night she Wednesday night she hummed the gate, and when she was able to get across it, yeah, the rest was sort of history. You
were travelling pretty strongly. You were keen to get going before the turn?
Yeah, no, I sort of was able to get a bit of a breather, and I sort of thought we got to get rolling on here a bit, so I didn't invite anything else to come, and yeah, she had a bit of petrol left in the locker.
So after 2 races, 2 wins, then you go out in race 3 on Baxter Red, another one for Neil Day, and this one had barrier 1, and you're able to, it's one of the big attributes you've got. You can get them off the gate, because Baxter Red, there was no way it was going to get crossed at the start.
Yeah, no, it's a big help if you can find the front in most of these races, and same with this horse. He's got pretty good gate speed, and I thought if we could use that to our advantage, he'd take a lot of beating as well. You
had driven him previously in a race. I think Neil put you on down at Wagga, didn't he?
Yeah, must have been 2 starts ago. He went massive that week. Actually, Dance Edition beat him in that race. They went 152.9, I think, and I was outside him, and we were pretty stoked with his run then. And Neil's just got him airborne at the moment.
Yeah, so the other night when you were out in front and travelling, did you have any concerns at all during the race?
Oh, the only concern was it was probably a big jump up in grade for him over the long distance. But we sort of able to get away cheap enough quarters. And yeah, he loves, the harder he goes. He's one of them horses, the harder he goes, probably the better he goes.
Yeah. No, well, that was an impressive victory as well. And then you saved your best drive until race 8 on Yumcha. Barrier 5, again, out hard, couldn't get the lead, but you're able to squeeze in behind the leader.
Yeah, no, Neil likes to launch all these and sort of same instructions. And when we couldn't get across, I wasn't really sure. And then I was able to get onto Amanda's back, and then she handed up, and we sort of ended up 3 fence. And we're looking a bit of a tricky spot there, but we're able to, I think, must have been Luke's horse was sort of dropping out. We're able to angle off and get into the clear. Sometimes
when you see a young driver and that gap opens, like obviously the horse in the 1-1 tied, and you're able to push out, some young drivers want to panic there and really ask their horse to lift, but you didn't do that. You let the horse balance up and then made the decision to come wide.
Yeah, no, probably I've sort of been there a few times now, and like you said, I've probably done that mistake before, but sort of able just to let him angle up and then make the move on him.
What were you thinking on the home turn? Did you think you were going to have the momentum to get them?
I wasn't really sure. I knew Amanda's horse would have a lot left in the locker, but sort of the momentum sort of helped my horse there, and sort of at the 50 mark, yeah, I knew we had it won.
So 4 winners on a program, that would have to be a career best. I know you got a few winners at a Goulburn meeting at the start of the fantasy harness racing season, because you kicked off the season really well there, but 4 winners, that must have been a pretty special night for you.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty big thrill. Like I was saying to a few people earlier, I was sort of going in expecting 1 or 2, but yeah, there was no way I would have been walking away 4.
Mate, tell us a little bit about your career. I've gone back and had a look. In 2021, you had 65 drives and you only won the 1 race. 73 drives in 2022, you won 5. But this year, 2023 has been huge. 219 drives and you've won 29 races. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved in harness racing.
Yeah, I started, my family had been involved in gallopers sort of all their life, and just going out on the weekends with them to see the horses and to the races. And I was able to meet Sam Hewitt out there who was working out there at the time, and he sort of just put it to me, asked if I'd want to come out and give them a hand at the trots one day, and so I went out there, and just on weekends I was giving the Hewitt boys a hand, and sort of started from there.
So you say that your family had gallopers. Were you hands-on with them, or did you just go out to the stables to have a look and a muck around? Like, what was your interest level in horses when you were growing up?
Yeah, I started just going out with them to the races, and I started actually with Scott Collins there for about 6 months because I had horses with him, and yeah, he was teaching me the basics about them all.
How tall are you? Were you too tall to be a jockey?
Oh, probably not. I'd say about 175 centimetres, but yeah, didn't really want to sit up on them.
Yeah, so you basically once you met Sam, it was I'm going to go and have a look at these harness horses.
Yeah, that was sort of it. My family probably weren't too happy about it. They probably wanted me in the gallop. Yeah.
And then you ended up in Tasmania for some time.
Yeah, no, Ben Yole sort of got in contact through him, and he sort of gave me an opportunity to start my career over there. And at the time, it sounded like a good idea, just learn a bit more, and just a lot of horses over there just to drive and just get more of an experience.
How did you find being away from home?
No, I was all right for the first few months, but sort of towards the end, I got pretty homesick.
And so then what made the decision to come back to Goulburn?
Yeah, it was probably about Christmas time, and I sort of thought I'll learn a lot over here probably in 6 months. And I was due to talk to Brad there a bit before, and I knew there'd always be a job back there, so I thought it was probably the right time to come back home.
And so, made the decision to come back to Goulburn, and it didn't take you long to really stamp yourself back here in New South Wales.
Nah, you're not wrong. It probably took me a few months to get back in the Goulburn, but I've had a few trainers been pretty fortunate and give me a pretty good go.
So who are the trainers that have been supportive? Obviously Neil Day's been a big one, and you work for Brad and Dave Hewitt, so they would have been pretty helpful along the way as well.
Yeah, Brad and Dave and Scott Hewitt's always give me a go when he came, and Sam and Neil Day and Dean Atkinson's been a pretty good help to me. He sort of gave me my first Saturday night drive, and he's given me a good go as well. So
looking forward, in 12 months' time, obviously the last 12 months has been huge for you. You've really kicked a few goals. But in 12 months' time, what would you like to do? Where would you like to be?
In 12 months' time, I probably sort of had no goals this time. This sort of year in, I just wanted to drive as many wins as I could. But the next 12 months, I'd probably say I'd like to drive 50 winners in a season and try and crack that first Saturday night win.
Yeah. So, and I guess now that, like driving 4 winners on Boxing Night on a big card like that, you're going to get your name up in front of owners and trainers that will be willing to put you on a Saturday night.
Yeah, no, I've definitely, that's helped a lot. I've had a few people already message me about it, and the more the drivers I get, the better.
Sure. Who's been your favourite horse that you've been associated with since you've been in the sport?
Favourite horse? Putting me on the spot here, Hazy. Probably have to say Type. I've got a pretty soft spot for him.
Yeah, and he's obviously been a really good horse for Brad.
Yeah, no, he's been real good.
And you mentioned before that your family would have probably liked to see you push towards the gallopers. The fact that you're having a lot of success in the harness racing, have they come around? Do they like the fact that you're driving plenty of winners?
Yeah, no, they're a real big support of mine.
Mate, it's really good, mate. Really good story. Good to see you get 4 winners. Keep driving plenty, and no doubt we'll speak to you again very soon.
No, thanks for that, Hazy.
Time for the Express. A quick look back to see if I can highlight some horses to follow. As I mentioned off the top, I'll look at a few different races this week. Normally Menangle, but no Menangle. So first up, the Shirley Turnbull Memorial at Bathurst on Boxing Night. Mac Da Vinci was the $3.60 favourite in the race, and it turned out to be a complete horror show for favourite punters, with Mac Da Vinci out of the race soon after the start when Wow He's a Rockstar galloped off the front row and went back through the field. Typo somehow managed to miss it, but Mac Da Vinci got checked and galloped out and was retired from the race. Kanina Problema was driven aggressively at the start, so too was Balraj off the inside, but it was Kanina Problema who was able to get to the front before handing over to the Jason Grimson trained Sia Art. Firestorm Red had followed through off the second row to be 4 pegs, which left Star Major in the chair, Smithy's Terror second over, and Typo effectively 1 out and 2 back. Lead time was 84.7. Typo made the move around to the chair, coming in to get the bell, and at that stage, it looked like Star Major was in a bit of trouble as it was struggling to hold the spot on the back of Typo. Down the back straight, Balraj couldn't stay on the helmet of Kanina Problema, and there wasn't a lot happening from the tail of the field. The quarters were 31-1, 28-9, 28-6, so they were moving to the 400-metre mark. Jack Brown on Sia Art again put his foot on the accelerator as they neared the final bend. The horse travelling was Kanina Problema, but he just started to put in a few rough strides on the apex of the turn and then broke as they straightened up, but it was just for a few strides. Typo was all out. There was nothing running on, which meant in a final quarter of 28-8, Sia Art won quite comfortably. Typo held on for second. Star Major came again in the straight to run third. Big run by that horse, and Kanina Problema balanced up in the sprint lane to finish fourth. think he would have been right in the finish had he paced throughout. He might be one to follow. Kanina Problema has been racing well of late. Balraj wasn't as good as he'd been, but I think now we can see that he needs to be driven ice cold, just come with that one run. That's when he's been doing his best work of late. And Smithy's Terror had his chance at his second run from New Zealand. He needs to improve to be winning in this grade, but I'm still prepared to give him another couple of chances before completely penning him. The Inner City Pace, dominated by the three heat winners. Hands On was the $2.10 favourite. Rob Morris suggested last week on the podcast it was the one to beat. When the starter said go, did she do it? It was quick off the gate, crossed Jeff Coate before releasing stablemate Better to Be Tricky. Morris was aggressive from the back row and pushed onto the front with Hands On, and they walked through the lead time in 61.8. Compare that to the heat run where Hands On ran the lead time in 59.6. Into Sky, who ran a good race in the heats, made a move to be first over with 2 laps to go. Sunshine Pepper second over. Sonic Express was third over, but with the slow lead time, the place to be was on the marker pegs. Morris let Hands On run. First quarter was only 31.4, but then 28.3, 28.4 meant they really moved through the middle half of the final mile. Into Sky was under pressure, or under urging really, at the bell, and was starting to feel the pinch as they left the straight. Hands On took off. Better to Be Tricky was nailed to its back. Did She Do It was trying to hang on to their coattails. Nothing could make ground off the track, so it effectively became a 2-horse race from the 400. Hands On never looked in any danger in the straight, running through the final quarter in 28.5. Better to Be Tricky ran to the winner's wheel. It can win again soon. Did She Do It held on for third. Not a lot to say of the back markers. Rouge Bling was driven a treat in the heats and was best of the run-on horses. Didn't do any work until the final lap, but I think it might be one to follow moving forward. And finally, the Breeders' Plate. Mr Bondi was the $1.33 favourite off the front row, and there was a speed battle in the early stages as everyone wanted to be the horse to hand over to the favourite. But in the end, Lenneth protected the inside draw and held before releasing the fave. It took Mr Bondi into the back straight before he got to the front. Lenneth obviously on its back. Bruce Hartley got absolutely stoked, 3 pegs from 6, which was a good drive. Due to the early speed, they went single file early, but it was Dun Spruken who came first over when they settled down, which gave Centerfelli some cover in the 1-1. Magomedov was 1-2, and Montgomery Burns was on its back. The splits were lead of 8.7, quarters of 29.9, 30.7, 29.5, and 28.8. So they never really backed it off. And in the final lap, basically, Mr Bondi rolled away from the field. Back in the field, Centerfelli went back to the peg line. Magomedov got into the clear and started to make ground with Montgomery Burns wider on the track. Up the straight, Mr Bondi, no doubt. Big salute from Blake Jones to the crowd. Dunspruking was getting very tired and was laying in, but managed to hold on to second. The aggressive drive from Cam Maggs meant Lenneth got third, and Magomedov finished strongly for fourth, cutting back the margin late. Dunspruken and Magomedov are the ones to follow of the beaten brigade. And now it's time to find out what's happening with the winner, Mr Bondi, as I catch up with Blake Jones.
And around the outsider runners next is Montgomery Burns. They straighten up though. Mr Bondi's got a handy lead in the feature. Trying hard as Dunspruken. Along the inside is Lenneth. Mr Bondi in front. He's got the Southern Central Engineering Breeders' Plate sewn up and gives a nice salute to Blakey Jones. Second, Dunspruken. I think third goes to Lenneth.
Breeders' Plate was very exciting. Big win by Mr Bondi. Blake Jones doing the driving for Ellen, and Blake's joining me to have a chat. Congratulations on the win, Blake.
Thanks, Greg. It was good night.
Yeah, and a very impressive win too, Mr Bondi. Tell us a little bit about the win. You didn't really have to get involved in the early speed, and then you're just able to move forward and work to the front?
Yeah. I sort of thought the fella Jack was driving, Dunspruken was his main danger, so I just sort of aimed to keep in front of him that first 50 or 100, and once I was able to do that, I sort of just waited till the top couple settled, and then worked our way forward and were able to get to the front. And he did all on his own steam after that. When you found the top, you thought it was game over? I thought he'd be very hard to beat. You never know. Something might catch you, but once he got to the front, I thought they'd have to be pretty good to beat. And nice big salute on the line too. Was that to anyone in particular? I had a few mates that come down for the night, and I could see them on the fence with their hands in the air carrying on a bit, so I give them a little wave.
Mate, tell us a little bit about the horse. He's a former Kiwi. He's arrived in the stable and he's only had a couple of starts for you guys, but he's done a very good job.
Yeah. Mick Boots brought him from over in New Zealand. He's probably been here about 6 weeks or so. He sort of took a bit to get going once he got here. He wanted to run, but that was probably his problem. He wanted to keep going. He was getting pretty keen in track work, and it sort of took us a few track works to sort him out and finally get him relaxing. And we were able to do that, which probably was a big bonus because you don't want him over racing when you get to the race. That's for sure.
And after the win, what do you think now? Are you looking at some bigger races?
We'll probably aim up the New South Wales Derby if he seems all right the next fortnight or so. He seems to have pulled up pretty good so far. He cleaned his feed bin out the night after, so that's always a good sign. And he's just had a few days in the paddock since then. But at the moment we'll aim up the New South Wales Derby if he keeps on song. Did
you hear from Mick? Was he at the races on Tuesday night?
Yeah, no, he was at the races. He was there, and he was pretty happy after the race. And spoke to him the next morning, and he was over the moon with how he went, and all pretty good.
Mate, you've had a pretty good record in the Breeders' Plate. Obviously, the race has changed a lot with the timing and the change of the season and everything, but you won it back in 2013 with Business in Motion for Cole Thomas, and then won it again a couple of years ago with Sugar Apple. So it's been a good race for you.
Yeah, for sure. It's probably one of the races that probably got me into the sport. I remember going to it for many years with my grandfather and my nan, and always aimed to win it. And to do it pretty early in my career with Business in Motion was huge. And to be able to continue to get a couple more wins in it, it's always a race I look at every year to try and get a drive in and try and win if I can.
Mate, how did you get involved in harness racing?
My grandfather, Joe Painting, he always had one or two horses. He had an old horse called Go Lock Law when I was probably about 12 or 13. And I used to go up and give him a hand in the mornings. And, he sort of got me into it. And, never looked back. No one else sort of in my immediate family are into the horses, like my brothers or sisters or parents. But, just got sucked into it and never looked back since I have. Did
it surprise your family when you went towards being involved in harness racing?
Probably not really. Since once I sort of got the bit of the bug of it when I was about 12 or so. That's probably all I ever talked about or all I ever wanted to do. Mum wasn't a real big fan of me leaving school early to go do the horses, but I eventually got me way and went and done the horses full time. And
before you've obviously settled down, and now you and Ellen have got the nice size stable. Who are you working for down there in the Riverina?
Obviously when I first started off, just helping Grandpa with his one or two, and then obviously my cousin Jack Painting, being connected with Dave Kennedy, being his uncle, I sort of got in with Dave and used to go around with Jack and help him out a bit. When we were a little bit older, and then from there. Moved to Sydney and got a job with Trevor Monday. That was his sort of first full-time job in harness racing. Then from Trev's we went to Bathurst to Steve Turnbull's and Nathan Hurst. Spent a bit of time at both their stables before coming back home to Dave's.
And that was always the plan to get back home? You always wanted to get home?
They didn't really have any sort of plans as such, but it just sort of worked out at the right time. I think Dave was expanding his stable, and I think Jack had just about lost his junior claim, so it just sort of worked out at the right time to come back and be able to pick up the junior drives there and get back close to the family.
Ellen, having a look at her training record, you can set your clock. She'll train 50 winners a year, but importantly this year, it's been the biggest prize money year for her as well. She's won in excess of $530,000 in prize money, so it's been a good year for the stable.
Yeah, it surely has. We always try to aim up to a bit bigger local races around here, and we got pretty lucky this year being able to pick up the TAB Championship with Brooklyn Bridge, and we've had a few other nice horses going around the cup races. Captain Tom winning the Griffith Cup, and now this fella winning the Breeders' Plate. So it's been a good year.
being associated with these horses in the country, and then when they perform so well that they can move on to the city and they move to another trainer, is it difficult to see some nice horses, or is it just part of this game? You just understand that at some stage it's too hard to travel to the city every week, so they've got to go to a city trainer.
You never want to let them go, but we sort of know where we're based. We've got to do the best thing by the horse and let them go, and we enjoy seeing them go. When Narano made the Inner Dominion final after having him, Ellen was pretty keen to book tickets, and she got us a flight up there, and we flew up and back the day off, and come home Sunday and went up to watch him race. Yeah, it's good to follow them, and we enjoy seeing them doing well after leaving our place.
Mate, one horse from the Breeders' Plate the other night, Montgomery Burns, stablemate. Stable must have some opinion of the horse. Went to the Tatlow Stakes in Sydney and ran 6th there, so nice horse.
Yeah, he's got the other fella covered at home really, but just probably hasn't put it all together on the racetrack yet. He probably the smaller track around Leeton doesn't suit him as much either. He probably likes the 1,000-metre tracks, but hopefully he's going for a spell now, and he can strengthen up a little bit, and if he does, he should come back a nice horse because he's got a good turn of foot when right.
How many horses would Mick Boots have with you guys?
He's probably about half a dozen. Yeah, usually probably fluctuates between probably 4 and 6, and somewhere around that mark. Usually, when one leaves, it's usually not long before another replaces it, which is really good for us.
And you've had a fair bit to do with Mick over the years.
Always known him before we started training for him, and drove a few for him when he had them with other people. But since we sort of gone out and got our own place, he supported us very strongly, and much appreciated because we needed all that support when we went out by ourselves. What's
your stable setup like?
We're in Narandra. We back onto the Narandra race course, and we built our own 800-metre track inside the race course, and then we've also got a mile sand track just inside the gallop track that the gallopers work on, but there's only one trainer in town that works on it, so we work on it too as well, and do a fair bit of gallop work and a bit of our jog work on it, which is really good. Yeah,
so you've got a few different options there to get them fit.
Yeah, definitely. The mile gallop track, they seem to love it. They plenty of open space, and it's got a bit of an incline up the 400-metre straight, so they do benefit a lot from working on that, and they definitely enjoy the different style of working on that track.
Another good year for you too, just around that 100 winners mark, and again a prize money, a best effort yet in your career of just under $850,000. So it's been a good year for you as well as the stable.
Yeah, it's probably been a bit of a tougher year with Wagga getting a lot more competitive with the Victorians and them coming down, but it's good to be able to still be around that same mark, which I've sort of got the last few years. There's plenty of long days and long hours go into it, so it's always good to see that the numbers at the end of the year and be proud of what you've got.
Well, mate, congratulations with the win in the Breeders' Plate. Good luck with Mr Bondi going forward and towards the New South Wales Derby, and well done to you and Ellen on the season you guys have had.
Too easy. Thanks for that, Easy.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Winning. Hey, that's pretty good.
Winner!
That was legitness.
To that I say, all right. Wow, winning.
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. A winner! Just like that.
And the winner is...
Well, in my tipping challenge against Mr T, it was me, because I got all stitched up home at Dubbo and it paid $3.10. So something for the followers. That updates the scoreboard in the challenge between Mr T and I. I'm on -$9 and he's on -$88. So we're both in the red, but he's a lot more in the red than I am. What do you think of that, Mr T?
But I pity the fool, and I will destroy any man who tries to take what I got.
What's your prediction?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
Yeah, well, he's in a lot of pain, Mr T, at the moment. $79 behind. And he's come up with a couple of tips this week. Let's see, Bathurst. He loves going to Bathurst, and the first of them is in race number 2. Number 2, Tossy Sun for Amanda Turnbull. Hasn't raced since August. 2 trials, has won them both. It's going to be hard to beat, but gee, it's going to be short, so he won't be making up much ground there. So race 2, number 2, Tossy Sun. And his other one is in race 7, number 3, Bo Duke for Travis Bullock and Amanda Turnbull. Hasn't won in Australia since arriving from New Zealand, but this start is the one, says Mr T. So in trying to close that $79 gap, he's going with 2 shorties. Race 2, number 2, Tossy Sun, and race 7, number 3, Bo Duke. My tips, I'll go to Tamora on Tuesday. Race 6, number 2, Spread the Fear. Now, it's trained by Trevor Allenby. Pete McRae replaces Cam Hart. It's a race for horses with 0 lifetime wins. So the horse is obviously limited, but there doesn't look to be a lot of depth in this one. So off the good draw, I'm going to go with Spread the Fear. Race 6, number 2. And then Bathurst on Wednesday. Race 3, number 1, Special Dream. Now, it finished 4th behind My Cracklin' Rosie at Bathurst on Boxing Night. Jet Turnbull drove, and he might have taken off a little bit too early because it looked to peak on the run halfway up the straight, and the horse he was following, Ali Birdo, did run second in the photo finish. Jet's driving one of Steve Turnbull's in the race, so Nathan, Dad's back on this week. It was 25-1 last start, and there are some nice horses in the race, but I thought from the good draw it might give you a run for your money at good odds. So that's race 3, number 1, Special Dream. So, as I said, -9 for me, -88 for Mr T. Good luck if you're following those tips. In fantasy harness racing, it is still Champo 71 in front by over 100 points. Champo is on 3,857 points, 118 in front of Manning 1990 on 3,739. I'll get Will Norman, last year's winner, back on the podcast soon. He's lurking there in 5th spot on 3,667. My team moved up this week. I'm back into 69th spot on 3,322 points. Round 5 was won by CLR 0387 with 707 points. Hard to beat, ran second with 704. Don't forget there are weekly prizes to be won and some great prizes at the end of the competition as well. Last year, Harness Racing New South Wales gave away the car. This year, it's cold, hard cash. So keep making your changes and picking your captain and vice-captain. I'm looking to get Grace Pinella into the team this week after a really solid week for Grace, and plenty of drives at Tamworth this week as well. And Menangle is back next Saturday night, so the big boys should be back amongst it again soon. That just about wraps up the show for another week and a year. Hope you've enjoyed it. Have a great finish to 2023, and let's hope 2024 is a good one. Big thanks to the guests, Harry Ross and Blake Jones. Thanks to the team at Harness Racing New South Wales for this platform to speak with you, and I look forward to joining you again in 2024. So don't miss the Sunday session again next week. Bye for now.